This summer, I'm going to be doing the GR11, a 900-kilometer hike across the Spanish Pyrenees mountains. Starting in the city of Hendaye on the west coast, I'm going to be taking about 5 weeks to get myself across to the city of Barcelona on the other side. The GR11 purists out there will know that that's not the traditional finish for it, but I'm looking to finish somewhere with a bit of life and hopefully pass through a couple of beautiful sights along the way. More importantly, everything that I'm doing is going to be right here on my back, and I want to show you everything that's going inside that backpack today that will get me through 5 weeks on the GR11. Let's start by talking about my base layer. This is going to be worn primarily against my skin and is designed for wicking sweat and moisture away from me and out into the atmosphere to make sure that you don't get too clammy and cold, and if you get cold out there, it can very quickly turn dangerous. This t-shirt is nice, cheap and cheerful sun hoodie with a UV protection of SPF 50. That's going to be keeping me nice and safe from the sun damage once we get into the high altitude. There's a lot of named brands out there, but this was just a cheap and cheerful one that I got off of Amazon, 20 euros, and it does everything that you need it to. It's got the protection here on the back of the hands, this fantastic hood, which combined with the sun cap is going to be really good at just keeping the sun off of my face. The shorts that I'm wearing are shorts with a liner. It saves you having to take underwear on these things, and with everything being carried on your back, every gram counts, so it's probably a bit of overshare, but these will be shorts with a liner. Enjoy that for the rest of the video. These are a Vardict. I got these from Decathlon. They are trail running shorts, and I can't sing the praises on these things enough. Super light synthetic material. This entire base layer is, including the t-shirt, in fact, really light, really quick drying, and fantastic pocket system here. I think trail runners have got all sorts of secrets which they're not willing to share, but I've got a zip on the front and on the back for delicate items, whilst here on the front there's sort of a mesh pocket which can fit all sorts of valuables and little quick items in place of, say, a bum bag or a fanny pack. Here in France they call them a sac banane. I'm going to be using that instead. So yeah, this is my base layer. It's coming in super light. I'm going to put the weight and that'll let you know what's going on there. So you'll primarily see me in this whilst I'm walking, and next I'm going to show you what I'm going to be sleeping in, which is a slightly different setup. Now this t-shirt is what I'm going to be sleeping in whilst I'm out there on the trail. I have a camping system with me which all fits inside the backpack, and the main thing that I want to be doing is staying warm, especially up there on the high passes. Now this is a merino wool t-shirt. Merino wool is rather famous among the hiking community for being really light, being very effective for thermal insulation, and also being able to wick sweat away, which again is a main priority of these base layer t-shirts. So this is from Decathlon. For merino wool, you can't beat Decathlon in terms of pricing if you're over here in Europe. I know that stateside, if you were going to check anywhere out, check out REI. If you can find a Decathlon, can't sing their praises enough. Fantastic layering system. What I'm going to be doing is a walking outfit and a sleeping outfit, and those two won't cross. What I plan to do is to get all stinky and sweaty in my walking outfit with the long sleeves and the sun protection, and then at night, just for my own psychological health benefits, there's nothing better than getting into a clean pair of clothing to be able to rest for the evening. I'm also going to be taking along with me a pair of Nike sports leggings. These are just another base layer which can go underneath these shorts for those cold mornings when I want just a little bit more thermal protection on my legs, and also at night if I need something just to keep me a little warmer inside my sleeping bag, I'm going to be able to wear these underneath the shorts as a layering system. You'll find the pattern amongst all of this clothing is that it's thin, lightweight, able to dry very quickly, and most importantly able to be part of a layering system. You'll find amongst hikers that we have base layers, mid layers, and then an outer layer, and each one of those does a different thing, and they're meant to work in conjunction with one another. So everything which you're seeing here is the base layer, which is primarily designed to wick sweat away from me and then keep me warm. Continuing with that base layer, I've got merino wool hiking socks. Same material as the t-shirt, slight elastication in these just to keep them nice and tight on your feet. Here's the price, here's the weight. I'm going to be taking two pairs. One pair is going to be the pair that I hike in, which will be sweated in and washed as much as they can be, and then the other pair are going to be used as sleep socks essentially, and of course an emergency if anything were to happen to these ones. That combined with, like I said, this sun cap right here. My friend Natalie was kind enough to bring that for me. That's another Nike dry fit purchase there, and that, almost dropped that, is going to be the combination. Is there anything else in my base layer? Yes, sunglasses. Sort of a base layer thing, but just in terms of always having it on me, I'm going to be rocking these are net sunglasses. I think these are primarily used for skiing. Moving on to my mid layer, I'm going to be taking this. This is a wonderful little device. One sec. This is a Cotopaxi Fuego 800 fill down jacket. Wonderful piece of equipment, again, very, very lightweight, super compressible, and this is going to be going on top of my base layer, like I said, in sort of that layering system to keep me nice and warm for when the temperatures do drop. Hooded again, which means I don't have to bring a beanie or anything like that, again, saving weight. Nice pull up all the way to the top, really nice design. I love the colors on this thing, really, really fun. So yeah, whilst I will never be hiking in this, you'll never see me walking along with this, it's going to be far too warm. This is going to be that thing which keeps me nice and protected, safe and warm once we've set up camp. Now, of course, with 5 weeks on the trail, the weather's not always going to be on our side, so when the wind starts to blow and when the rain starts to come down, I have just managed to pick up the newest all-weather hard shell from the Dutch company Cortazu. These guys primarily worked with ski wear and are now stepping into the hiking world as well. This is a fantastic piece of gear, and I must thank them actually. You guys managed to get this to me earlier off your Kickstarter campaign, so thanks for that. Go ahead and check out Cortazu. They're a wonderful European brand, and this is a fantastic coat which is going to be keeping me nice and water protected. My puffy can go underneath this, in fact, if I'm looking for those days when I'm cold and wet, I can put this on top. And just like everything else in the kit, this packs down super light, super tight, nice and easy. So that's going to be primarily what you see me wearing. Can't forget gloves. These will be used to help keep my hands nice and warm when I'm heading over the high passes, and of course when I'm sleeping as well, they can be used as part of my sleep system. Now these were going to be the shoes which I was taking all the way across those Pyrenees with me. They were going to get me through over 900 kilometers of individual steps, but I'm not a fan of them anymore. We've just come back from doing the Tour de Mont Blanc, in fact, and after getting those wet on a Monday, I believe by Wednesday morning they were still damp, and I've totally gone off of those now. So instead there's going to be a pair of trail runners adding to this mix. And if you've got any recommendations on trail runners, let me know, put them down in the comments, it'll be nice to hear. A pair of shoes which I know are going to be coming with me are these Zero flip-flops. These are super lightweight, extremely thin and packable. Check that out, they're great. These were gifted to me by my partner Nick, and they're going to be coming with me all the way across. Again, just for your sort of mental well-being, there's nothing better than getting your shoes off after a long day and slipping into something with just a bit more breathability. When you're out there on the trail, the last thing you want to be doing is letting your feet get possibly wet, definitely warm shoes, and you don't want to have that slowly build up. It's not healthy for your feet at all. So the quicker you can get yourself to camp and let your feet breathe, the happier they'll be. Healthy feet, happy feet. Now, one thing which we're always going to be making sure that we have enough of on this trail is fresh drinking water. When we're out there, it's not always going to be easy for us to be able to get our hands on clean drinking water, which is where this puppy comes in, which I've got hanging off the end of a smart water bottle. Now this, for those of you who don't know, is a Sawyer squeeze filter. Nice and simple, it essentially works like a big straw. Dirty water goes in a bottle, you squeeze it, fresh water comes out, and using that, it's sort of a filtration system, which means that you've always got clean water to hand, especially when you're going through some of the more remote sections of this hike. Along the way, this hike is quite famous enough that we're always going to be able to top up with clean, but it's just nice to know it always has an option as well. My partner and I are going to be carrying 2 smart water bottles each, with the opportunity to spread the weight between the bottles and make it more even among the pack if we need to. On top of that, I also have this. This is some people call it CNOC, some people call it KNOC, some people just call it NOC, but this is a water bladder which is essentially a really nice combination in use with the Sawyer Squeeze for carrying another, I believe, 2 litres of water on top of that, so that can be used in emergencies. And on those days where we don't need it, if we know that we've got a safe distance between where we are and the next rest stop, it can fold up nice and tight inside the backpack. Works in conjunction with the Sawyer Squeeze, where thanks to having the same thread system, the Sawyer Squeeze can attach to the bag. You fill that with water from your river or wherever your accessible water point is, and then you can squeeze that bag out to fill those 2 bottles. Really effective system, and these work hand in hand fantastically. You can get smaller bags. I believe the smaller bag is blue, but between my partner and I, we want to make sure that we've got enough for 2 people, which is why we went for the orange 2 litre size. Next up is the sleep system, which I'm going to be using to keep myself, well, asleep, which combines my tent, my sleeping quilt, and my sleeping pad. This is all going to be designed to keep me raised up off of the floor and keep me relatively warm down to those possibly freezing temperatures. Hey there, from future Luke here in the studio. I am putting together this video right now, and I realize I did not talk about my sleeping pad even once. So here's a picture of it. This is from Decathlon. It's a insulated foam pad with an R rating of 2.2. That's what Nick and I will both be using to get across the Pyrenees. On with the video. Now, the sleeping bag that I'm using is in fact a sleeping quilt, and this is from an American company called Hammock Gear, primarily used for hammocks. In fact, this is a top quilt. If I was sleeping in a hammock, you can have a quilt which goes underneath that hammock and one that goes on top. And those people in the ultralight hiking community have realized that you can get away with a nice weighted quilt for a really, really good sleep. This is an 800 fill power quilt, which is going to take me down to roughly 30 degrees Fahrenheit or roughly 1 degrees Celsius. It's a strange change moving over from sleeping bags to quilts, but in my research and through my experience, sleeping bags, whilst they come with a full body protection, almost like a cocoon, what you need with this sort of insulation is for it to be lofted and full of air. And what happens is when you're laying on a sleeping bag, all of that insulation underneath your body pressed into the ground becomes ineffective because it's pressed between you and your sleeping pad or you and the ground. So a quilt works by essentially removing the back of a sleeping bag, just like a quilt would at home. And really, in order to get the best night's sleep that you can whilst you're out in the backcountry, these things are really designed to imitate sleeping at home. And it hopefully will be able to give you a nice and warm night. There's a bunch of features. It comes with a zip and a sort of a strung toe box here, which means that you can keep your feet nice and tight inside. One thing which I must stress after my time using this, if I was to do this again with Hammock Gear, I would go for the sewn foot box. These are fully customizable. You can make them wider or more narrow depending on your body type. You can add or decrease the insulation. You can even overfill it if you wish, but of course all of this will affect the weight. The thing which I regret is going with this sort of drawstring toe box, because in the middle of the night you get awful drafts coming through this hole right here. It can be fixed by just throwing a t-shirt in the gap, but if I would do it again, I'd go with the sewn foot box. And if anybody else is interested in hammock gear, that's my advice about that. Besides that, I've taken this down to -1 degree in Fontainebleau, just a couple of miles south of where we are right now, just outside of Paris. And yeah, I can't recommend these enough. They fold up super tight. This is going to be going straight into the bottom of my bag. No stuff sack or anything like that. It just means that stuffing it in like this means that it can just fill up every conceivable nook and cranny of the backpack, just to really condense everything down. But yeah, Hammock Gear Economy Top Quilt. Check it out. Aha, my tent. I love this tent. This is the REI Flash Air 2-person tent. Like I said, me and my girlfriend Nick are going to be going along on this journey, so we needed something which will comfortably fit the two of us, and she's a little bit taller than I am, so we opted for the Flash Air 2 trekking pole tent. For those of you who are unfamiliar with these, you'll actually use the hiking poles that you travel with in order to support the main frame of the tent. It just means that you don't have to take extra poles with you, and again, keeps it nice and light. It's quoted as being a minimum trail weight of 1 pound and 15 ounces. Here's what it is in kilograms. But it's super light, super compressible. Come here, check it out. Super compressible. There's an entire tent in that. And yeah, that combined with a pair of trekking poles is all you're going to need to make sure that you've got a roof over your head, theoretically, for when the weather gets bad. Which leads me nicely into my trekking poles. Now these are great. These are from an Italian brand. These are Faisan. Don't know if you can see that. Now these are quoted and sold as being the lightest aluminium trekking poles in the world. In fact, it's such a bold claim, they'll put their weight right here on the pole. It's quoted as being 158 grams, super lightweight, and a pair of them, just make sure that you've always got balance as you're going over some of these rough terrains that we'll be visiting whilst we're on the GR11. I've added a couple of rubber grips to the bottom of mine, just something to make sure that when we're going through town, the sort of carbide tips on these don't wear away too quickly, and it's just politer as well. Personally, I can't stand the clicking and clacking of trekking poles on a concrete city ground. So yeah, these are going to be coming along with us, not only for support and balance, but for helping to set up that tent. The stakes for the tent are going to be the MSR groundhogs. These are fantastic little pieces, sort of tri-point, I don't know if you can see that, sort of tri-point tent stakes. They go into the ground super easily, pull out again just as easily. They do exactly what you need tent stake to do. Very, very lightweight. If you're looking to go even lighter, I know that they do the MSR minis, which are even better. They're sort of MSR groundhog minis. These are just MSR groundhogs. But yeah, fantastic little devices. They can also be used as snow stakes. If you ever need to use it in the winter, you can sort of pack snow on top of those, and that'll add tension to your tent and make sure everything stays up. I'm going to be taking 6 of these along with me. The tent itself requires 6 as a minimum, so there's 6 of these, and there's going to be a single spare coming with me from the original kit. Another part of my sleep system which is going to be coming along is a pillow. Nice, effective, inflatable pillow. Folds up nice and small when you need it to, but inflates just as quickly with a couple of puffs of air, and it will just make sure that you get the best sleep you can. I know a lot of ultralighters consider these a luxury item, but if there's somewhere where you really want to spend some weight, we end up talking more about spending weight than money. But if there's somewhere that you really want to be looking into spending some weight, it's on your sleep system. If you're not getting a good night's sleep, you are not getting a good day's hiking. So yeah, this is great. Again, 4 class, I think maybe €5 altogether this cost. This one's from Decathlon. It's inflatable on one side, but there's sort of a cushioned layer on the other, so it doesn't feel like you're sleeping on a balloon, which is a reason that I really enjoy this. Always get a great night's sleep out of that. Now, for drying myself or for wiping condensation off of the tent, I'm going to be using a microfiber cloth. Again, everybody knows what these are. They're fantastic, nice and light, really compact, really necessity not only for drying myself, but also with the kind of tent that I'm using, keeping the weight so low. It's a single wall tent, which means that they are more prone to condensation. So just something like this in the pack means that in the morning I can just wipe off the tent wall, get rid of that condensation that's built up during the night, and that way just make sure that we can keep that tent nice and dry, moisture free, and as healthy as possible. I almost forgot, this is my head mosquito net. This isn't going to be pretty, but what it is effective. If you are looking to hike and just keep the flies out of your face, it's a nice big bag that goes straight over your head, in no way restricting your vision, and just keeps the flies off of your face. Along with a drawstring for those critters that are super curious. I didn't say I was going to be winning any fashion awards. But yeah, super lightweight, super compact, barely know it's there. And also, if you ever need it, can double up as a filtration bag if you ever need to get some big particles outside of water, or if you ever need it as well, it can be a quick little grocery bag. They're really good for that. It's essentially a fruit bag I'm putting on my head. The trick with a lot of this is to find multiple uses for things, and that way you aren't stocking up on too many things. In the same way that I know that this could be used as a bag, as well as a mosquito net. It's the same idea with my microfiber towel being used for condensation as well as drying myself. There's lots of little tips and tricks, and if you've got any, feel free to put them in the comments. Now for my cook kit, I'm going to be going with the tried and tested formula. Inside this mesh bag is everything which I need to make sure that once I get to camp, I can have myself a nice warm meal. Starting off with a 750 milliliter titanium cup. This will be used for eating out of, as well as cooking underneath. Titanium means that it's really good with being able to take some hot temperatures, which will be coming primarily from camp gas and a BRS stove. If you're looking to get into backpacking and you still want the opportunity to have a hot meal, a lot of people cold soak and they sort of just do overnight oats. But if you're looking for the health benefits of just a nice warm meal, go ahead and check out the BRS stoves. These BRSs are some of the lightest stoves you'll ever see, really compact, super cheap as well. I believe they're all the way from China, nice and effective. And they are, if I can get it out, very, very small and very, very compact. Check it out. That's it. That's all you'll need. And that screws on top of the gas canister. And then you're able to light it up and have yourself a nice warm meal. It's also great for coffee in the mornings as well. Can't beat it. So let me show you what this looks like, fully extended. Nice and easy. Come here, you. Nice and easy. Simple as that. Come here. Some people don't fully believe that this works, but yeah, hang on 1 second. I'm dropping everything. So yeah, easy as that. Turn the gas, light the match. Have yourself a nice meal. Really effective, really lightweight, and best of all, it all sort of self-contains inside itself. We're down to the last couple of items now, and these are just little dinky things which will be going into side pockets and just making sure they keep me nice and safe. For power, whilst I plan to film a lot of this hike, I'm going to be using the Charmast 26,800 milliamp battery pack. A lot of overkill for a lot of hikers out there. I know a lot of people don't go much beyond 10,000 on this, but again, between me and one other person, I think that'll be more than enough. It's heavier than I'd like to admit. I know that you can get some night cores for double the price for half the weight, but this is going to do me wonders. A bunch of quick ports along the side, USB, USB-C, really effective, and it's going to keep everything powered. What I'm mostly going to be filming with is what you're looking at me through right now. This is a Google Pixel 7 Pro. Wonderful lightweight piece of gear. I went for the Pro model just because it has a larger battery, and I'd recommend it if you're looking for something to use on treks like this. That's going to be used for my GPS, that's going to be used for my cameras, that's going to be used for letting people know I'm alive, and yeah, bringing you along on the journey with me. Last couple of things now, I don't go anywhere when I'm hiking without a survival blanket. For the weight cost, super easy, super efficient, and it feels like a stupid thing until you really, really need it. As of yet, touch wood, I've not had to need it, but the day that I require it, I know it's there, and also if I come across somebody who's struggling, I know that I can also offer this to them as well. So yes, survival blanket. For the gram to safety, great addition to the pack. This is my med kit. I've stripped it all the way back into a small Ziploc sandwich bag. Inside here there's a bunch of medication, some band-aids, some eye wash, a little tip tool for when you can possibly catch them whilst you're on the trail. Nice and light, nice and compact. The tablets inside here, I've got ibuprofen, I've got digestion tablets, I've got hay fever tablets for anybody who needs those. Nice and easy. It is a bit of a fear pack, but again, it's not needed until you need it. So that's coming along with me. And the last thing, this is the poop kit. You don't always have a guarantee of toilets out in the woods, so when we're out there, this is what we're going to be using to number 2. Yeah, so first things first, this is a nice easy titanium trowel, which we'll be using to dig a hole. God, this conversation is so weird once you say it out loud. That's going to be used for digging a hole and filling the hole again. You get the point. Bit of toilet paper in there, a little bit of alcohol to keep everything else clean. And one more thing that's in there is a bottle of ecological soap, which can be used in conjunction not only with keeping yourself clean and your body whilst you're showering, but it can also be used to wash your clothes. For weather protection and making sure that all of those electronics and all of my clothes and everything stay nice and dry, I'm just going to be using a standard heavy trash compactor bag. This is designed for taking out garden waste, so it's really puncture proof, and this just essentially goes inside the backpack, and then I will fill this bag, and it just makes sure that everything which I want to stay dry stays exactly where it is, nice and dry. Now the last item on this list is what all of those other items are going to be going into, and that is the backpack. For anybody out there who's looking for tips and advice, the reason I left this till last in this video is sort of because the backpack should also be something which you're considering for last when you're buying your gear. What you don't want is to buy the backpack first and then find out that your kit doesn't fit inside. If it's too small or if it's too big, you can be wasting a lot of money. So you just want to make sure that you focus on the backpack last when you know everything else needs to go inside it. Now, this, oh, I love this backpack so much. This is an Pyrenees 40, another decathlon buy. I picked this up years ago, just sort of as a sports bag. And it's discontinued now, in fact. For all of my recommendations, you might not be able to find it anymore, perhaps secondhand somewhere, but I can't recommend this enough. It is a 40-litre frameless backpack, very, very light. I think it comes in at under 600 grams. And the weatherproofing on it is okay, but that in conjunction with the dry sack that I mentioned just now, it's going to do more than enough. And it makes sure that the backpack itself isn't adding more weight to your overall pack. 2 mesh pockets here on the side, along with one on the top here in what is commonly known as the brain of the backpack. You can often find these without it as well, and I'm curious to see whether or not I can perhaps snip along the top there and remove the brain from this backpack entirely, making it even lighter. There's a couple of grams to shave there. So yeah, everything is about to fit inside this bag, and now I have the wonderful honour of showing you exactly how all of that fits inside this, because that is what I'm going to be carrying for 5 weeks on the GR11. So first things first, not everything needs to go inside the backpack. The sunglasses will hang out around my neck, hats on my head. Inside the mesh pocket of my shorts, I've got just little dinky things, hand sanitizer, my knife is in there, the suntan lotion, just sort of quick capture stuff, all goes right here in the pocket, and that can be in place of a bum bag or a fanny pack if you need it. Starting with the backpack itself, I did mention that we're going to be using the big stuff sack to keep everything nice and dry, but not everything needs to be. And in fact, sometimes that thing can be wet and you don't want it touching the dry parts of your kit. So that's why for me in my setup, the first thing which goes inside my bag is the tent. It's right down there in the bottom, and you'll notice that all of this slowly just compresses and hopefully fits all together when it's all done. After that tent goes in, forgive me, this is going to be noisy, in goes the bag liner. So that sort of just heads in there like that and keeps it nice and safe and secure. Next, my sleeping quilt goes in. Best thing about these sleeping quilts is that they're able to condense nice and tight and fill up all the sort of nooks and crannies left over by the tent underneath it. And everything else now goes on top of that sleeping quilt and just make sure that it compresses down even tighter. Next for me, in terms of keeping up all of that lofted compression, I like to put my puffy in next. That will go in there right next to the sleeping quilt and disappear just as easily. You can see it's already starting to fill out. I'd say we're probably about a third of the way through the pack size now, just to kind of keep everything in mind and let you know how far through this we're going. Next in this kit, I'm going to be adding my sleep clothes, including my t-shirt, my gloves, and my sleep leggings. They're all going to be going in there right on top of that quilt once I get the grass off. Gloves are going in. Oh, I almost forgot. The pillow can slide in there as well. This, for me, kind of slides in vertically like that against everything else. So this can get all the way down, right to the bottom of the bag. Microfiber towel goes in next when it's dry. If it's wet, what I can do is hang it off the rear of the backpack, and it just means that it can dry out without getting anything else in my kit damp. Next up, I put in my camp shoes. I sort of use this as a lid, as it will, just kind of push everything else down now that all the clothing's inside. Now that's probably brought us to about halfway through the backpack, I'd say. You can probably get in twice as much again at this point. Next for me, I like to put in my cook kit. This makes sure that it just stays nice and secure against the flat of your back. The closer to your back you can get it as well, the lighter it's going to feel. The further away from your back it is, the more that weight's going to be pulling you backwards like that. So getting that in the backpack nice and secure against my spine is the best way to carry your cook kit. Next goes my little diddy bags, the poop kit and the med kit right there on top. The easy access, quick access if you need them in emergencies. My water system will go next to that. Rolled up CNOC bag here. Inside the bag, however, the 2 water bottles, these are designed to go into the side pockets. And you can balance out the weight of your backpack really easily by placing one on either side. And the Sawyer filter weight, super light and negligible. So that can sit on one side, whilst one sits on the other. Tent stakes will be going in next. These also fit here in the side pocket. Nice and visible, nice and secure. And again, if they're wet or covered in mud or snow or anything like that, staying here on the outside of the bag keeps the rest of my kit dry. The mosquito net. It's never going to be around when you want it unless you put it where you need it. So that is going to go straight there on the top of the bag for those quick emergencies when the bugs start acting up. My battery pack goes on top of all of this. It means that I have easy access to it when I want to be able to walk and charge. This will go inside its own little Ziploc bag. I seem to have just misplaced it, but just for extra security from the elements, that will go inside its Ziploc bag, and that goes on the top there. And that is everything which goes inside the main compartment of my backpack. As you can see, everything is nice and dry inside this stuff sack. I then wrap that up to keep it nice and tight. Bit of a press to remove some of the excess air, tighten it up with the drawstring, and that is my backpack. Yeah, you wouldn't think it all fits inside, would you? One last thing. The weather can change really quickly and turbulently when you're up here on the mountains. So I like to keep my raincoat in an easy access pocket, and that for me is the one thing which goes inside my brain pocket. Stuff's here in the top. Not only is it easy access for when the rain starts coming down, but it does mean if I need it, it can also be used as sort of a waterproof layer from everything else because it's on top here and the water can sluice off of that hood that I've created using the coat. The trekking poles, that's the last thing I'll mention. They won't necessarily be going in the bag, and if they are in the bag, it's because I'm sat on a train or a bus. Generally speaking, those will be in my hands. So those, if I ever need to, perhaps can slot inside the brain like this, but 99% of the time they are going to be in my hands whilst I'm trekking along. And yeah, that's it. Just to prove it, everything else is inside the bag. Give it a quick rotation. And the final weight I'll make sure to put up on screen, but yeah, I believe this all comes in at under 6 kilograms, which is not quite ultralight. I'm going to call myself lightweight because I know that there are some people out there scoffing at the idea that I even take 2 pairs of shoes. But yeah, that for me is going to keep me nice and dry all over the GR11. And that's it, really. This is everything which is going to be coming with me. It's really exciting. We've spent a lot of time researching. I've spent far too much money on all of this gear, but it's there to keep you happy and healthy and safe. So yeah, the lighter we can get it, the better. Like I said, this hike is going to be over 900 kilometers. Very, very exciting. If you want to follow along with everything here that we're doing as we head off onto the GR11 this summer, feel free to hit all of the buttons below and let us know what you think. If you've got any tips or advice or questions about the gear that I've got, go ahead and put them below and I'll get around to them as quick as I can. Thanks for joining us. See you.